Hey, Robert here. So, a question that comes by a lot is how many tools do I actually need to learn and which tools should I learn? And sometimes people have the impression that you need to learn multiple modeling tools to really fit in what the industry possibly needs. So I think it's wise to just explain a little bit what I've seen in the industry and that you don't really have to kill yourself and that you don't have to learn every tool out there. These days, of course, we have a lot of tools, which is good. So we have the Maya, the 3D Max, the Blender, the ZBrush, the Substance Painter, the Substance Designer. And then there are some other tools floating around like 3D Code, for example, or Houdini. And really, as a 3D artist, and it doesn't really matter if you're like generalist, specialist, characters, environments, whatever it is, the standard that has always been the case throughout the industry for as long as I've been in it for 20 years is you need a modeling tool. So just pick one and become good at it. That could be Blender, but it can be 3D Max or Maya, or maybe 3D Code as well. So really your poly modeling tool. You need a sculpting tool, and the industry standard has always been ZBrush, but Blender is sometimes also kind of picking up that space. But other tools do it as well, but being able to use ZBrush, I think, is a good need, and many studios will use it. So you need a sculpting tool. You need a 2D texturing or painting tool where Photoshop has always been the standard and still is. So learn Photoshop. And you need what is also a standard these days, Substance Painter. Not Designer, but Substance Painter is also a must. So those four are a must that you need to learn, where really the poly modeling tool is kind of up to you. And what usually happens when it comes to getting a job is that a studio is all in on a certain workflow and tooling. So also for me, I started with 3D Max and that fit my first job I had in the game industry. But afterwards I went to a second job and they used Maya. And then in the first 2 months or so, I just literally had to learn how to use Maya on the job, but that's fine. That's usually okay for them, and there's a lot of people using it, so you can learn quite quickly. And because you already know poly modeling, it is really more a UI and how do you use the tool situation, and that just takes some time, but you know the basics already, so you're good to go. So those four I would consider essential. I would say and would like to add that these days, with Substance Painter having really picked up most of the market, but also Blender these days, is that people or beginners or new people in the industry are to an extent becoming a little bit lazy when it comes to texturing and materials because they are used to Substance Painter and it does a lot for you automatically, which is good. That's why we have it. But as a result, people aren't really taught or they don't practice actual manual painting and how to create good textures and materials. So yes, you need to learn the tool, but be aware that it is a shortcut. So don't forget to also sometimes just do manual material creation in Photoshop, for example. What I also have seen a lot is, especially with Blender, because Blender has it offers a lot, right? It can do even painting. I've seen people only use Blender and then they do the texturing in Blender as well, including the painting, which is a really cool feature. But if Photoshop is the industry standard and if you have never touched it, that's gonna hurt you when it comes to getting the job or aligning to the industry. So Yeah, Photoshop, in my opinion, is a must to learn. Adobe has always been massive in the entire creative industry. So in the game industry itself, we really only use Photoshop, but Illustrator is also huge. So yeah, definitely learn Photoshop. And there are some alternatives popping up, especially if you're like a 2D artist, then there are even more tools out there that are being used. But don't forget to learn Photoshop or maybe something that looks like it as well. And then learn also manual painting. Even if you're going all in on realism, the manual painting, you don't have to become a master at it, but it will teach you a lot regarding colors and form within your textures. And it's just a good creative skill to have practiced and touched on a little bit. So yeah, that's really it. Like 4 tools. The modeling tool is up to you, the poly tool. Make sure you practice them all, you get them, and from there you can simply just go into any studio, and at that point just learn a different tool, but you know the basics. I hope that helps. Like I mentioned before, we just recently launched or really transformed our Discord server, which used to be a production server for the client projects we did, and we opened it up for a community. It's still like super tiny, but it's a better way to interact with me if you have more direct questions. And the plan is to slowly build it out, really focused on these topics I've been talking about. So if you're interested, make sure you join our Discord. And as always, I've been running the bootcamp this last couple of weeks. We launched it about a month ago, and this bootcamp is a 2-month training coaching bootcamp where I take a small group of people, around max 6, and we really go deep into these topics like freelancing, networking, social media, what it means to be a creative professional, what to focus on in your career, what to learn in your career, and really to level up your 3D art career. So if you're interested, take a look on the website, or again, reach out to me on LinkedIn, or again, the Discord, and I am happy to help.